I don't care what the crowd says. That's my son. I love him. I'm working with him. You see the difference? See, when you mess up and you know your father is the coach, your father is the king, your father's committed to not only walking with you, but washing you. It gives you hope that even if today isn't what it should be, tomorrow can be better. The gospel according to John, chapter 13. It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize what I'm doing, but later you'll understand." "No," said Peter, "you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." Then Lord, Simon Peter replied, "Not just my feet, but my hands, my head as well." Jesus answered, "Those who have a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body's clean. You're clean, though not every one of you." For he knew who was going to betray him. That was why he said not everyone was clean. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. "Do you understand what I've done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that's what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I've set you an example that you should do as I've done for you. Very truly, I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you'll be blessed if you do them." The title of our message this morning is It's a dirty job. We've all heard that saying. It's a dirty job, but I had the privilege of spending a year doing a residency program in Atlanta in 2014. That's 10 years ago at this point. Man, time flies. In this residency, I was serving at a church called Blueprint Church, which was a part of a network of churches called the North American Mission Board. The purpose of the residency was to, along with pastors and ministry leaders around the country, to go and to be equipped and gain experience, to go back to the city God has called you to plant a church just like this one. So I'm in Atlanta at Blueprint Church with the North American Mission Board, getting experience, and a part of my responsibility was to take there was a group of students who came from a school, a university in a neighboring state, and it was about 12 of them, led by 2 young adults out of college. One was a young man, his name was Nathan. The other was a young woman about the same age, 24, 25. My job was to give this group of 12 students an experience on this mission trip that they had during one of their college breaks. So I got a group of 12 students, 2 adults, or 2 young adults, and we're meeting at the church, hot part of the year. If you've been to Atlanta during the hotter months, you know why it's called Hot Atlanta. Can I get a witness? Got this group of students, and I was amazed at how there was one, his name was Charles. He was in a wheelchair, and he also, although a college student, had some sort of developmental issues. Some sort of developmental issue, but I was amazed at how far this group went to include him in a wheelchair. So everything we did, we had to be intentional to include him. Now, one of the things we did was we went through the neighborhood. The church sat on a very interesting boulevard. To the front of the church building, there are Section 8 apartments and everything that comes with that. To the back of the church building, directly behind, I'm saying right in front, Section 8, to the back, there are homes that are at least $1 million. Very interesting intersection of poverty and affluence. We're there, and one of the things we're doing for the week is we're going through the neighborhood and we're doing Bible lessons with the kids in the neighborhood. So we go to the grocery store. In order to go to the grocery store with Charles, you got to pick him up, put him in the car, in the van, so on and so forth. We go to the grocery store, we get ice cream. We go through the neighborhood, we say, hey, we're about to start our kickball game in about 30 minutes. We're doing a Bible lesson. You get the answers right, you get ice cream, we play kickball. Sounds great. Now, the way these students included Charles was so beautiful. To play kickball, literally for him, they had to pick him up, one person on each side, and carry him to the middle of the field. This joker is out there willing himself, playing kickball in a wheelchair. Now, all of that was wonderful, but there was one thing that not only moved me, it changed me. We get back one late morning, it's about lunchtime, in the air conditioning. It's hot Atlanta. It's time to eat lunch, take a break, get out the heat. And Charles looks at Nathan and says to Nathan, I got to use the bathroom. And I'm like, it didn't occur to me. What happens if he's got to use the bathroom? Nathan looks to me and says, where's the nearest bathroom? I said, I got you. He gets behind Charles. He pushes that wheelchair into the bathroom, and something I was not expecting happened. And it reminds me of, if you are reading what John told us happened the night before Jesus gave his life to save us from our sins, if you're reading this and you read it with a freshness and a newness like we should when we're reading God's inspired scriptures, you notice that Peter responds to Jesus in a way that doesn't exactly make sense to us today. You notice Jesus is with his disciples. It's the last night of his pre-resurrection life. He knows this. Says that for some reason, what was supposed to have happened was the lowest servant in the house was supposed to wash everybody's feet before the meal. Now, this was an awful role, but it had to be done. But for some reason, it hadn't been done. Jesus is at the table, and back in the day, they didn't sit at tables like we sit in chairs about here. They actually essentially laid on the ground, and the table was about yay high. So everyone around the table, your feet were close to other people's face. Now, this is something significant when you're thinking about the fact that we're talking about Jesus the Jews walking around in what could be called Jerusalem cruisers. Those sandals throughout Christ Force 13s, okay. Now, Peter responds to Jesus, says Jesus gets up, and he puts a towel around his waist. Now, if you know anything about good etiquette when you're eating, as you're eating, you put a towel on your lap. Jesus gets up, puts a towel around his waist, and no doubt the disciples are thinking, what in the world? He gets a basin, starts to fill it with water, and moves to his disciples. He begins washing their feet. Now, rock with me. When you read this, you see Peter respond in a way that doesn't really make sense to us. What's the big deal? Okay, washing dirty thing. Okay, I'm not a feet person. I don't like calluses and corns and hammer toes. Okay, I don't love, okay. But what's the big deal? You notice Peter responds to Jesus, and he says, are you about to wash my feet? You feel this depth of repulsion. You say, what is going on there? Jesus continues forward. Peter says, ain't no way you about to wash my feet. You say, what is the big deal? I'm here to submit to you the reason his response was so deep was because it would have been akin today to what happened in that bathroom with Charles and Nathan. Listen to me, my brothers and my sisters. I saw this man, 24-year-old, pick up this college student, help place him on the toilet, and because he was paralyzed from his waist down, Nathan, without batting an eye, I saw this, pulled his pants and his underwear to Charles's ankles. And this brother used the bathroom, and Nathan wiped this young man's behind. Now, if you have walked the path with someone whose health has failed them, and my brothers and my sisters, I'm here to tell you, if it hasn't already been the case, it's very likely or probable that you are going to have to do this for your own parents. Do you know how vulnerable it is for someone to be so committed and close to you that they wipe your behind because you can't do it for yourself? For me personally, my mother, you guys might notice that when she walks leaning forward a little because she's had 2 back surgeries. When I was in college, I was this close to not having the privilege of going back to my 2nd year of college because my mother had to have her 2nd back surgery, and she needed care, hand and foot. And it does something to you to be the one who's on the receiving end as a baby, being cared for, to being on the other side, and you've got to bathe an adult and help an adult to the bathroom. I saw a grown man so care to include another grown man. He put him on the toilet and from love wiped his behind. When he got done, they both washed their hands. We went back like it was just another day at the office. This is the sentiment that Peter felt when Jesus got up with a towel around his waist. It was essentially like Peter saying to Jesus, there ain't no way you about to wipe my behind. And Jesus is saying to Peter, to be at this table with me, I got to wash you. Because real talk, somebody was supposed to do it and they didn't. It's a dirty job. Somebody got to do it. If I could boil our sermon down to a single word, it would be this word: close. As a matter of fact, I want you to write down these 2 principles. We're going to look at some of the scriptures. We're going to go live this. I want you to write these 2 principles down. Get close and get clean. Jesus was so committed to his 12. Yeah. We're in a series called Party of 12. And we're saying, real talk, as a church plant, we've had some real blessed highlight moments for 2 years, and we've had some turbulence. And the fact of the matter is, like Jesus, when you look over your shoulder and you see turbulence and trying times, the way forward for Jesus and the way forward for us as a congregation as well as individuals is you have to focus not just on the people who are around you, you got to focus on the people who are down with you. And you got to give them your best. You got to love them and bless them and give them the energy and blessings that they need in order to do all that God has encouraged and challenged and called them to do. And when you focus on the 12 and not the 20,000, God will build his purpose and his vision in your life, but you got to be able to identify and lean in with those 12. Jesus was doing this. He says, y'all 12, if you ain't know, now you know I love you. Ain't no way you about to wipe. If I don't wash you, you can't be at this table, because I'm going to be real with y'all. Y'all smell. I'm here to tell you right now, my brothers and my sisters, I need Jesus. If Jesus didn't wash me and did not continue to wash me, I couldn't be at his table. I'm leaning on Jesus. I love Jesus. I'm following Jesus, and I'm telling you the truth. I need Jesus. I need him, and you need him. I want you to see something very interesting of what he told Peter. Jesus answered, those who've had a bath need only to wash their feet. Everybody say feet. Their whole body's clean, and you're clean, though not every one of you. Now, that raises the question, what is he talking about? The bath, the feet, the whole body, what is going on? He's saying, listen, the bath represents being born again. When you've been born again, you've been regenerated. That thing that happens from the Spirit happened inside of you, and you said, I'm a child of God. Jesus has forgiven me of my sins, and I want to do God's will. Matter of fact, when you're born again and you sin, you can't enjoy sin the way you used to enjoy it. You say, I've been born from above. Jesus says that's the bath. But even those who've been born again and have been bathed in his grace, you still got to wash your feet. Come on, somebody. Your feet have to get washed. What does that mean? That means coming to our leader, Jesus, daily. You got to eat at least once a day unless you're crazy. Or fasting, which will make you crazy strong. You got to come to me every day to wash your feet. No, you don't have to go down to the altar again and give your life to Jesus afresh and anew to be born again. No, you got to be washed. Your feet got to be washed. There has to be an ongoing cleansing. Now, I want you to get this. Principle number 1, everybody say get close. In 12, you got to get close to your 12. Now, how close? If you're going to be a faithful follower of Jesus, we got to be those who are seeking to bless and love and serve and help others grow in Jesus. Now, what happens when you do that? You're going to get close. Well, how close, Jesus? Close enough to smell them. Did you hear me? Close enough. Now, think about it. This happens with me occasionally. I am who you see me to be. It's not a costume. But people will get close enough to me, and there'll be little things that bother them that I do. No amens back there. Stop it. But watch this. You get close enough to me, as much as I love Jesus and as much as I do all the things, there will be things that you'll say, I don't like that. Are we together? And vice versa. Are we together? How close are you to people if nothing actually even bothers you about them? Come on. But how much might you show love if you're the kind of person where when you get close, you say, but I know I'm supposed to be a vessel to help you. Principle number 2, get clean. What if we were people like Jesus who we were so committed to the well-being and the growth and the flourishing of others that when we see those areas that they kind of stink in, we lean in. We don't throw them off the table. We say, let's get clean. What if we were those kind of people? Because my brothers and my sisters, what has Jesus done for us? He brought us to the table. He's given us a bath. He's washed our feet. The next day, our feet smell again. And he washes us afresh and anew. Let's give him praise. Now, one of the things that this is supposed to do for us as I close, this is to give us hope. How so? What a blessing. In John's gospel, that's who we're reading his account today. His whole gospel is to add to our collection of biographies of Jesus' life and his ministry. And it's to show us, John wants us to see Jesus is God's special Son who reveals what the Father is just like. How blessed is it when you have your Father's love and he loves you like that. See, when you are playing sports and you got that coach that the minute you step out of line and the minute you mess up, out of here. Go take him out of there. That was a turnover. You have that kind of coach, you get locked up. You're afraid to do anything. But when you have that coach that says, it's true, I'm the coach and I'm also his dad. That's right. That's right. Yeah, he messed up, but he's staying in the game. I'm working with him. I don't care what the crowd says. That's my son. I love him. I'm working with him. You see the difference? See, when you mess up and you know your father is the coach, your father is the king, your father's committed to not only walking with you, but washing you. It gives you hope that even if today isn't what it should be, tomorrow can be better. Come on. There is a British Jewish rabbi, Rabbi Hugo. He's actually no longer living today. But he was a prisoner in Auschwitz, which was, when he was a teenager, World War II was underway, and he and his family were forcefully placed in a concentration camp. Conditions worse than many of us can even fathom. The Nazis were seeking to exterminate all Jews. He was a teenager when this happened. He later writes about the significance and the importance of hope in that concentration camp when the vast majority of his family would be exterminated. He made it through. He made it out. He later wrote about this, and he says, one midwinter evening, one of the inmates reminded us that tonight was the first night of Hanukkah, which is a Jewish holiday. It's actually referenced in the Bible. The festival of lights. My father constructed a little Hanukkah menorah out of scrap metal. How many know sometimes you got to do what you got to do? Can I get a witness? For a wick, he took some threads from his prison uniform. For oil, he used some butter that he somehow procured from a guard. Although such observances were strictly verboten, which meant forbidden in German, we were used to taking risks. But I protested at the waste of precious calories. Would it not be better to share butter on a crust of bread than to burn it? Hugo, said my father, both you and I know that a person can live a very long time without food. But Hugo, I tell you, a person cannot live a single day without hope. Come on. If you give me the last 3 verses there of our passage. Jesus told us and his originals. Somebody say, I'm in the 12. See, Jesus is talking to those who are in his 12. He says, I've set you an example that you should do as I've done for you. Very truly, I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you'll be blessed if you do them. Look to your neighbor and say, it's a dirty job, but somebody got to do it. Let's give God praise.